Hi, I'm Moritz from Black Forest Motion, and in this video I'm going to show you how to further edit the keyframes in Pro mode to realize every possible camera movement. I already gave you an introduction to the Pro mode. If you want to see again how to set keyframes, you can watch the last video. Before we get to the optimization of the keyframes, I want to show you how to change the colors of the different motors in the graphs. To do this, simply tap on the motor names. Here you can select a new color. The curves in the graphs, as well as the motor name, will now be displayed in the new color. The curves of individual motors can also be completely hidden. To do this, tap on the small icons next to the motor names. This is especially helpful when editing Beziér curves on smartphones with smaller displays in order to create space in the graph and to concentrate on a specific motor. The horizontal position lines or the position values of the motors can be shown or hidden via the graph settings. Once you have set keyframes, you can easily change the Beziér curves using the Edit Beziér button. The control handles are now displayed in the position graph. In addition, a small drop-down menu opens with additional settings. The control handles are assigned to the motors by color and can be moved horizontally and vertically. This changes the graphs, and you can, for example, achieve a slow acceleration or deceleration of the motor. The velocity curve is especially helpful here to visualize the acceleration ramps. When moving the control handles, it can happen that the motor speed becomes too high. This is then indicated by a dashed curve. Here you can either set the control handles so that the speeds are within the limits again, or you can let the curves adjust automatically by tapping on the check mark that appears. The keyframes are then scaled linearly to execute the movement within the velocity limits. You can block the control handles vertically via the drop-down menu. These can then only be adjusted horizontally. This is helpful to prevent abrupt speed jumps. In addition, you can link the control handles for middle keyframes. This will automatically change the opposite control handle. It's also useful for achieving smooth velocity transitions in between keyframes. Once you have finished editing the curves, tap the green checkmark. If you have made a mistake while editing the curves, you can undo all previous steps. To do this, simply tap the undo icon in the upper status bar. Steps can also be restored. This works for editing curves as well as for setting or deleting keyframes. Under the graph settings, you can define further settings for the keyframes. For example, you can set whether middle keyframes should be automatically smoothed when they are set. Middle keyframes always lie between two already set keyframes. The Beziér control handles are automatically adjusted so that the movement remains continuous while the motor reaches the middle keyframe. If the smoothing function is deactivated, the motor comes to a complete stop for a short moment at the middle keyframe. This can be easily seen in the speed graph. In addition, the default ramps can be defined in the graph settings. This defines the control handle positions when setting keyframes. Already set keyframes can be edited via the Edit Keyframes button. The keyframe squares can now be moved via drag and drop. The time value and position value is displayed in an info block. A small drop-down menu appears here as well. Here you can set whether only the time parameter or only the position parameter can be changed. As soon as you have finished editing the keyframes, tap on the green checkmark. Keyframes can also be overridden. This can be achieved by placing the time marker at the same time as the keyframe and then setting a new keyframe. Details of a keyframe can be displayed by a short tap on the keyframe square. If you tap on the square again, you can enter time and position values directly. If you hold down a keyframe square, the motor moves to the corresponding keyframe. To delete keyframes, tap the Delete Keyframes icon. The keyframe squares change to red crosses. By tapping on the crosses, you can delete individual keyframes. Multiple keyframes can be deleted using the smaller drop-down menu. Here you can either delete all keyframes of all motors or all keyframes of a specific motor. Once you have deleted the desired keyframes, tap on the green checkmark. In order to execute an already programmed movement over a shorter or longer period of time, all keyframes can be scaled linearly. To do this, tap the Scale Keyframes button and set the desired time of the last keyframe in the dialog. As already seen, the time marker can be moved with the finger. At the upper edge, you can also see the exact time value. To set the time marker automatically to a certain time position, you can simply double tap the time marker. In the dialog, you can now enter the desired time value. With the button Move All to Marker, you can move all motors to the current time marker position. This is useful to check an already programmed movement at certain times. If you activate the Move with Drag Marker function, all motors move even while you're still moving the time marker. This way you can really go through the complete motion sequence from start to finish to check if the camera moves to all desired locations. This was now an extended look at editing keyframes in our Pro mode. In the next video I will show you how to use the keyframe presets to save movements and reload them later.